Hi, I'm Syndia. I bring you weekly art studio vlogs documenting my art process in the studio. I also review art supplies and a bunch of other things. Today I thought I would show you my own art studio setup. Maybe it would give you ideas. I don't know. Let's check it out. This room is 12 by 15, so it's about 180 square feet. I personally feel like it's an adequate size. The thing about sizes of a studio, I feel like it's never big enough. I think the most important thing is to actually have a dedicated space for your art. I didn't always have this much space. In fact, at some point I had zero space and I had to take my bedroom, divide it in two, and dedicate one specific corner of my bedroom for my art studio. I feel like the main thing that you need is a wall, a blank wall, so that you could use it as an easel if you need to, or stick things on like reminders and things like that, as well as a table and some kind of storage system. And for that, you don't need that much room in theory, depending on what you want to make. And I think that having a studio is super important because you get to have your art supply all at the one place, and you can even leave it out if you're in the middle of a project, and that makes a big difference in productivity, but we'll talk about it later. This room is really well lit because I have a very big window over here, which is a plus. I feel like lighting is a super important part. If you don't have any window where you are, I would say make sure that you have those white balance light bulbs, like the daylight light bulbs, not the yellow ones because they alter your colors. 5000 K would be the ideal light bulb color. I'll get into all my little sections and my storage and all that stuff, but another point I wanted to make about the general space was ventilation, depending on what kind of art supplies you use. If you use oil paints with solvents, you need a well ventilated space. You want to be safe, and also make it comfortable. That's more like a psychological thing, but I feel it's important to make it cozy and comfy so that you want to be in your space as much as possible. Not too warm in the summer, not freezing cold in the winter. Whatever you need to have to get inspired, whether it's fresh flowers or a really cool music setup, like a good coffee machine, anything that will make it more cozy to you if you're sensitive to those things. So whatever makes you feel a little bit more inspired, makes the space a little bit more attractive for you to want to sit in it and spend long hours in it, it will make a big difference. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't have to be pretty and neat, because an art studio is not meant to be neat. It just has to be attractive to you, whatever that may be for you. Okay, so let me talk about my main space. One thing that I feel very strongly about is that whatever space you're using, make sure that you make it so that even if there's a big old mess, like splatter of paints on the floor or on the walls, it doesn't matter. So for me, I have hardwood floors in this space and I didn't want to damage them. So I used multiple pieces of linoleum like this that I just put on top of the hardwood floors. So I went to Home Depot and I bought 4 rolls of these and I covered my entire space. They were about $50 each, so for $200 I covered the entire space. I did that in my very tiny studio years ago when it was my bedroom. I did the same thing. I covered half of my bedroom with that. This way, if there were splatters or any messes, everything was protected. So it made me not feel limited in the creative process. Where do I paint? When I paint in smaller formats, I tend to like painting flat on a table. And I flip my canvas around like this and I just paint that way. I don't really enjoy working with easels. The really good sturdy easels are crazy expensive, and the smaller, more modest ones are very wobbly and, in my opinion, kind of useless. So I've gotten used to working on a tabletop or directly on the wall for larger pieces, and I have this entire wall dedicated to larger canvases. I have a little bench like this in case I need to have a really very large canvas, I can rest my canvas on this and work directly on it. I put nails or screws on the wall, but I make sure that I hit the beams. So a beam finder tool is super useful. I think it's annoying to buy, but it's so useful when you have it. I really highly suggest that. Let me show you how it works. I'm really not handy, but it's so easy to use. So that's the device. You press on it and you just move, and when it finds a beam, there'll be a beep. So there's a beam, and you see that I've put a mark here. So I know that my beam is here, so I do that for all the beams. Then I draw a straight line at the height I need my canvas to be, depending on what size of canvas I'm working on. And then I will nail a bunch of nails or screws on that line so that the canvas will hang on 2 nails at a time for more support. I like having as much wall space as possible just because I think it's a good thing to have multiple projects or multiple canvases at a time, especially if you work in series. It's good to see them laid out. You can use also wall space for different notes or quotes that will inspire you, or notes on projects that you're working on. You can even use a window to write on, because they have, you know, those chalk markers that you can write on windows and erase. So I was considering buying some. You can sketch on them, you can write notes and to-do lists and things like that. So I think that could be an interesting option as well. As far as little inspirational bits, I think it's a good idea to have a bookshelf in any art studio, just because maybe you have reference books and your sketchbooks and things like that. I have an art book collection that I cherish and keep here to like spark inspiration or to do research with. And I also keep my vintage film camera collection. They all work, by the way, and I love using them. Another item that I find very useful in the studio is some kind of side work tables where you could put a bunch of drawings you're working on or things you need to dry. So shelving tables, ideally I would like to have those architects giant blueprint drawers, because they're really thin, really big, and you can store so many things in there, like large format papers and stuff like that. That would be the dream. Don't have any. I saw recently, and I will link the video in the description, go watch it, it's amazing. It's a DIY table that is perfect for what I'm talking about. It's made with IKEA stuff. It's not very expensive to make. I really want to make them. In the meantime, I was able to find these last year at Walmart. I paid $25 each. They kind of do the job, but as you can see, this section is way too big for what is needed. Ideally, there would be like 3 sections here, 3 sections at the bottom to be able to put a bunch of papers or smaller canvases to dry. And these I could move around and bring closer to my work table as I need to, and they're very, very useful. Another amazingly useful thing is these carts. I bought these carts from IKEA. They're maybe $30 to $40. I'll put the link in the description as well. They're on wheels. They're so useful. So if you have a limited space, they are a must for you. You can carry them around anywhere. You can have all your material by sections on them. I highly recommend them. So quickly, if you want to see my setup, I have all my brushes on this top shelf with spatulas and other tools like scissors and like different kind of tools that I'm using. And I also have this palette. I work in acrylic mainly. On the second shelf, I have latex gloves, rags, paper towels, and sponges. And here I have glass jars and masking tape. I have a second cart. Whatever material is in here mostly, I kind of rotate. As I'm doing a different project, things might change, especially for the first 2 sections, so that I could reach what I need faster. So here I have like essentials, I have paints. I worked on a black and white project, so I have black and white paint, spray bottle, and a bunch of paint colors at the bottom. I think another really useful idea is this. This is a kitchen utensil tray. It's made out of bamboo. I think I bought it at Walmart. It's really, really useful because I keep all the pencils, markers, pens, and tools that I use daily, and I can just bring it wherever I need to. I don't know about you, but I can never find a pencil. No matter if I have 25, I can never find them. They roll everywhere and they get lost in the heat of the moment. So having them all here, I find that it's way easier for me to just grab it because I know where to put it back and where to get them from. It's a whole tray of basic sketching tools that I use all the time, no matter what. Here I am. I have 2 storage sections. We'll get in there in a moment. They are a blessing, let me tell you. But first, let's talk about this table. This is an old kitchen table that we're not using anymore. So it's a bistro height. So it's just slightly higher than a normal kitchen table, which makes it a lot easier to kind of go around and work standing up if I want to. It's 42 by 42. Honestly, I wish it were just a little bit bigger, maybe 48 by 48, but we always wish things were bigger, right? My main requirement for a table is for it to be very sturdy, so not shaky when I try to erase something and everything shakes, you know what I mean? So I suggest that you go online and check for used kitchen tables, and it should do the trick. As you can see, it's well loved. I'm not too concerned about dirtying it. I find that if I try to keep things pristine, it just goes against the creative process for me. So I just accept that whatever I'm using can actually be dirty. So I try to pick things that are used, that I won't be sad if they get dirty. Okay, so storage spaces. Let's get in this one first. In this space, I keep all my art supplies, and I also keep whatever work in progress I have going on right now. Let's start with this side. I have a few shelves here. I keep watercolor over here. I have a mini gouache set. I just want to show you this because it's very cool. I bought this, I think, at the dollar store, and I think it's a great traveling option. And this is inks with a sketchbook. Over here, I have all my oil pastel stuff. I do a bunch of oil pastel videos for those who don't know, and I review a lot of oil pastel sets. So those are the sets that I've reviewed and I keep as reference. This is where I store oil pastels that I use daily. And this is the tools to go with it. So basically when I want to work on an oil pastel, I just grab these 2 things, bring them to the table. You can buy this maybe at the dollar store or at any hardware store. So I've organized these oil pastels by colors and not by brand. You'll see that I have a few trays like this because I find it very convenient to keep everything in one place to just bring with you everywhere and put back once you're done with them. And when I say bring back once you're done with them, I mean once your whole project is done, because there's one thing that I've learned. It's the most valuable advice that I could give and that I was given was to leave your stuff out. It doesn't matter if it's messy. Do not put things back neatly, because the next time you have to work, just the thought of having to get your stuff out and set up sometimes is enough for you to not do it. It's better to have everything sprawled out, ready to go. All you have to do is get off the couch, which is really hard because I really love watching TV and it's so hard to get off the couch. But if you know that all you have to do is like step in the studio and sit at your chair because everything's ready, chances are that you're going to do it. You're going to be so much more productive if you leave your stuff out. So when I say put it back, put it like set it up, I mean you start on a project, you know that project's gonna last like a few days, a few weeks even. Well, you have everything spread out, and once that project's done and you just like start a new project, that's when I would kind of like give a little cleanup of everything, sort things out, and then do a rotation of materials if I need to. At the bottom here, I have just a bin with scrap paper. As I was saying, these are works in process and incomplete works, and these are blank canvases. Up top here, there's papers that are on a larger format. I have a couple art pieces that are not finished here, but they're more fragile, so I'm keeping them elevated not to scratch anything. Here I have brand new unused sketchbooks with some canvas boards and more paper. And on the other side, I have more shelves. So on the top shelf, I have things that I want to review on this channel. Here I have mediums, varnishes, sprays, and tape. This is my acrylic paint section, all my colors, as well as here, these little baskets you can find at the dollar store. You just like slide them on a shelf. They're very useful. Here I have sketching and drawing stuff. I put them in pencil cases. This is charcoal, dry pastel, colored pencil, markers. I have erasers, blending stumps in here with extra pens. I keep some Sanguine here and Conte crayon and some more charcoal. Here I have a little sketching traveling set that I've made. So with some oil pastels and different pencils and blending stumps, and I have charcoal in here, so that's very useful to just bring on the go if you go on vacation or anywhere, you know. I have sketchbooks, current sketchbooks, and reference books and notebooks, like reference images and notes. And this here is all my collage section, so I keep some tape, scissors, a bunch of magazine collage stuff, thread, anything to do collage. I keep all my like unsuccessful artworks and I put them in my collage bin because very often there's interesting textures and you can kind of like reuse them. I kind of like the idea of reusing them for another work of art, so little tip. All right, the last section is more of a storage section. I have the same size closet, but it's finished pieces. So these are finished pieces. These are pieces that need a kind of like a varnish, signing, sorting, dating, all these things. These are from my 30-day art challenge. I have to sort all that out. That's why I bought those portfolios. I have to sort them out, date them, sign them. So for now, this is what it looks like. I really love my working space. I feel like the only thing I'm truly missing right now is storage systems for finished pieces. So how to deal with a lot of canvases, large canvases, or a large amount of drawings. I bought these cheap containers. I tried to have them big enough to accommodate larger drawings, but not too thick, because it's pointless to have like 700 drawings on top of each other because they might stick together and damage them. I have this where I could store papers, either blank papers or finished pieces, but it'll mostly be finished pieces that I will keep by sections or by series. Same thing with these containers. I tried finding something in the proper size, not too thick and sturdy, so that I could store my artwork and also that it would be stackable. It's not necessarily an ideal situation, but for now it will do the job. And in the next few months, I'm going to try to find a better and more permanent solution. If you have suggestions, leave them in the comments because I'm really curious. I'm all ears. I'll be back in a couple of days for another studio vlog, sending you good vibes, and I hope you come back soon. Ciao!